start to sit comfortably. You know, if you're on the floor and you need to sit up on blankets, grab a blanket or two to sit on if your hips feel better that way, being up higher. And if you need to stretch your legs out rather than sit cross-legged, or bring the soles of the feet towards each other if that feels better in your hips. Get comfortable for your own legs. And then just close your eyes and see if you can shift just a little bit so you feel your sitting bones underneath you. And you lengthen up through the top of your head. Feeling your shoulders nice and wide and open. Feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And letting the breath come into the belly so you feel your belly rise and expand a little bit as you inhale. Your next exhale, bring your hands together to be in front of your chest here. Spread your fingers out a little bit, and then just separate your pointer fingers a bit, just a little bit so they're not touching, and then when you exhale, let them reconnect. And do the same thing with your middle fingers. So you're very aware of feeling the middle fingers separate, and when you exhale, let them come back together again. And then same thing with your ring fingers, a little apart. And then they come back to meet. And then your pinkies, just a little bit apart there. And they come back together. And then your thumbs a little, don't force it. And then let your thumbs come back to meet. Spread your fingers a little bit. And now as you inhale, let your hands stay together and rise up through the midline. And when you exhale, let them come right back down to be in front of your chest. So how high your hands come up is up to you and your shoulders. So when you inhale and the hands rise up, just be easy in your shoulders. And as you exhale, let them come back down. So do a few of those with your own breath, just letting yourself feel that ease of coming into the shoulders very naturally, gently, easily, not forcing anything. And the next time your hands come back down, let them stay there. From here, turn your head to look to the left, just keeping your chin about parallel to the floor. Try not to draw your right shoulder around. And then lower your chin down a little bit towards your shoulder so that you find a little bit different stretch through the side of your neck. And then come on back up where the chin is more parallel to the floor. And then slowly bring your gaze on back to the front. And we're going to turn our head the other way. So just letting yourself release the other way. And then when you're ready to draw your chin down, how far you go is up to you and where you feel it, right? Just kind of be aware of where you're feeling that when you just barely lower your chin down a little bit. And then slowly rise back up with your chin. And then rotate back around into the center again. Let's unfold our arms right on down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up. If it feels good to look up towards your hands, do. And when you exhale, let your hands come down to be right in front of your chest. And we'll reverse the arms. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And then release your arms on out beside you. And you're in a T position. Your palms are down. Now we're going to twist from here. So as you exhale, twist to your right and let yourself come only around where your spine will bring you. So you're not really using your arms like you usually do, right? And then from there, lower your arms right down to where they want to go. So you're in this twist. You may not be bringing your left hand to your opposite knee anymore because you let your spine do the twisting. So one more breath here. Float your arms back up again to where they were. And then exhale your way back around into center. So you're really using your spine to do this twist. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, twisting now towards your left. And again, you're really thinking about feeling that twist. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. So you're really equal there. And then when your arms lower down, wherever the hands want to come to. So you're not forcing yourself into the twist with your arms. And then release back into those long arms straight out from your shoulders. And we're going to turn back around into center. And then release your arms on down. Now, if you're in your chair, you can just lean back in your chair, open your chest a little bit. If you're on the floor, you might want to put your fingertips, you might want to lean back fully into your hands to open your chest here. And just be mindful of how your neck feels. You know, whether you want to look forward, maybe it feels good to look up a little bit. Maybe you really like to stretch your throat out, but just really be mindful so it's not uncomfortable in your neck. And then we'll come on back forward, and let's come into a little bit of a seated forward bend. Now for you on the floor, it might be just a little. You can decide whether you need to shift your legs to a different position. In your chair, you might want to put your elbows above your knees, or you may want to bring your hands down. Same thing on the floor. You can put your hands on the floor in front of you. You can walk your hands farther out so that you kind of fold forward a little more if it's okay for your back. Don't push anything. If you can, though, try to let your head release. Let yourself, so you're not feeling like you're tensing up in your neck, but you're feeling the weight of your head a little bit there. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly bring ourselves on back up. So if you're cross-legged on the floor, switch the cross of your leg so you have the other leg in front. So you might want to stretch your legs out to do that, or you might just want to switch, bring the other leg in front. And then we'll all bring our arms on out beside us again here now. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist towards our right. Bring yourself on around into your twist. Now, this time, you can go ahead and let your left hand come to your right knee. Let yourself look wherever feels comfortable. If you like to look towards that wall beside you, or maybe you want to turn to look a little more behind yourself. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going to go all the way into the other direction. And again, might feel very different than when you didn't use your arms. Let yourself come around to where you can. Feel your feet in the floor too. Good. One more inhale. Let your exhale again bring you on back around in the center. And let's come forward again into that seated forward bend. So those of you who are cross-legged have a different leg in front. Take your time if you're in your chair again. If it feels really good to fold down between your legs and let your hands come lower, by all means do. Don't push it. Let your head release if you can. Let your face soften. Go through your jaw. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on up from here. And let's all stretch our legs out in front of us and flex and point our feet a little bit to come into the feet and the ankles. And then circle a little bit too, so that if you can, keep your legs still and really let it be isolating your feet and your ankles, right? Sometimes your legs want to go around along for the ride, right? See if you can keep your legs really still and very much let it be in isolation there. Good. And then shake out a little bit. We're coming on around towards our hands and our knees. And if you know you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. Use a blanket. Be up on your chair if you'd rather. Take your time to get your hands comfortable. Remember, if it's better to be on fists or hold the edge of your chair, do. Take your time. Let yourself drop your head for a minute. Kind of look back behind you. And then when you exhale, draw up into cat pose and kind of imagine you're looking at your navel. Right? You're really rounding into your back. And then when you inhale, as you send your tailbone back and up, Your belly melts down, your chest. Whether you look down or forward in your cow is up to you. And then just ease your way through these poses at your own pace. You know, maybe you want to move really, really slowly. Maybe it feels better to move a little faster. So let it feel very natural and easy. To find that motion through the spine and warm up those muscles alongside your spine. And remember, if your breath ends up going opposite, that's fine. There's no right or wrong way to move through your cat-cow. Let's finish off the one you're on. And let's come back to more neutral spine here. And then just look over to the right and let your right hand come up and straight out from your shoulder for a second. Your palm is facing down, so you have more weight on your left hand. And you can rise that arm up higher if you want, reaching the right hand up towards the ceiling. And then come on back down with that hand. And we're going to go to the left, looking to the left. Left arm coming up. You may just want to keep it more parallel to the floor, or maybe it feels good to open up wider and let the hand come up higher. And then we're going to come on back down with that hand. And let's bring our left foot forward, coming into our first lunge. So whether your hands are on blocks or a chair or the floor, up to you. But remember, as you look back at your right foot, try not to let that right heel drift inward towards the midline. Let it reach directly behind your foot, which gives you more in your calf. Think about your belly engaging just a little bit. And not so much that you tuck your tailbone down, right? You don't want to tuck your tailbone down. Your tailbone is reaching back. But you're engaging your belly. We're going to switch legs. So however you need to do that, coming to the other side. Remember, it's like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, so make sure you're not trying to line your feet up like you're walking a tightrope. But let your hips be a little more natural feeling. Good. And then again, just really enjoy. Engage the belly a little bit while your tailbone is reaching back on that diagonal line, which also engages your low back, if you can feel that. Good. Let's switch legs again. And this time, if you feel pretty solid in your lunge and you want to lift up a little bit, you can. You can come higher on your hands, or you can bring your left hand up to your thigh. I know some of you like to play with bringing both hands up. If you like to do that, go right ahead. It's fine to leave both hands down, too. We're going to switch legs again, so taking your time to come to the other side. Remember how long your stance is, totally up to you. Just be mindful of that front knee. And everybody's very well aligned there. You can lift a hand up if you want or not. Good, and then let's come on down. Let's bring ourselves into standing forward bend with our feet. Hips distance apart and parallel. You may want some support. See if you can bend a knee at a time. When you bend your knee, we're going to walk a little bit in this forward bend. When you bend your knee, lift your heel up of the leg that's bent so that you actually really press into the ball of that foot where the knee is bent, and work through your feet a little bit too. Good. And then finish off for both heels to be down. Let your knees soften a little bit. Come on into your standing forward bend with whatever support you need. Elbows above your knees, letting your arms hang down if you choose to, using your blocks if you want under your hands. And then just breathe. Let yourself enjoy. Just watching your breath coming in and going out. And as you focus on receiving your breaths, they kind of naturally want to get longer and deeper. But just see if you can imagine them being equally important, which will help even out your inhales and exhales. One more breath here. And then we're going to let our hands come on up to our hips as we bend our knees and press into our feet and rise straight on up. And inhale your arms all the way out and up overhead. And let your exhale bring your hands down together in front of your heart. So finding your mountain pose, and if that means you need to adjust, like how far apart your feet are, or make sure you look at them if you need to, make sure one of them's not turned out more than the other one. You want to feel pretty equal, right, in the way your feet are underneath you. And then bring your hands together there in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And if you can close your eyes for just a second, do. If it makes you dizzy, don't do it. But if you do have your eyes closed, just feel the feet in the floor. Then imagine that you're bringing your gaze out to where the horizon would be if you were standing outside. Now your eyes can open to do that, or you can keep them closed. Feel length in the back of your neck and throat. And just imagine, as your body, it wants to be aligned. It wants to stack up. Once you get your pelvis aligned, it's pretty easy to feel the hips over the ankles, the shoulders over the hips. Length in the back of your neck and in the back of your throat. Good. Let's unfold our arms right on down beside us. And then tilt your head to the right. Let your right ear come towards your right shoulder. Right? And you can even add your shoulders a little bit so that you kind of roll down a little bit on that side. Feel your head. And then roll on back up with the head, the last thing to get up there. And then left ear towards the left shoulder. And again, you might even add your shoulders a little bit. Let yourself roll down sideways a little bit through the spine, a little side flexion. And then come on back up to the top with the head, the last thing there. Good. And let's inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead. And then come over into a side stretch here. So now you're reaching up through the fingertips. Now really feel your right foot down into the floor. Feel the sense of space between the ribs on the right side. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to switch arms. Left arm comes up as the right arm comes down. Reach up before you come over to the side. Let yourself enjoy feeling that length and the space between the ribs there on the left side of the body. Good. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to release our arms down beside us. Clasp our hands behind us. Take a nice inhale here. And as you exhale, bend your knees quite a bit and come forward to where you're about parallel to the floor, or up a little higher if you need to. But if you can have a flat back and be about parallel to the floor, do. Good. And then release your hands, bring your hands to your heart, into prayer hands here. And twist a little bit to your right. Now some of you might even want to put your left elbow on your right knee. If you want to go that low, you can, but you don't need to. So you're twisting your body and you're actually bringing your gaze to look to the wall there to your right. And then come on back into center and go the other way. So again, you don't have to go that low. You can be up high. You're keeping your hips and your knees fairly even. If you want to put your elbow down to your knee, do. And then come on back up. And we're going to come up into chair pose now with our torso coming up a little bit, looking about 6 feet in front of you on the floor. And then press into your feet, rise on up, inhale your hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as you come into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Make sure you're not bunching your shoulders up there by your ears. And we're going to find a downward facing dog pose from here. So you know how you get into down dog is totally up to you, where your hands are, what height. If you need to walk a little bit when you get into dog, or bend your knees both at the same time, do. So find that length through both sides of the body. Let yourself enjoy finding that sense of space in your spine. And on your next inhale, come on out forward towards a plank. And you don't have to do a full push-up pose here. You can if you choose to. Let yourself feel that engagement of your belly. Knees can go down. Forearms can go down. You can bend your elbows, do push-ups if you like. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. So remember, if you need to adjust your feet, excuse me, a little bit between your dogs and your planks, go right ahead. And we'll bring our right foot forward from here to come into lunge. So if you're on the floor, you might need to put your left knee down to get there, or both knees down to get there. And draw your shoulders down, find your whole body here in your lunge. And then we'll step forward and come back into standing forward bend. And be mindful here, support how you need again. I know a lot of you like to hold your elbows. You're fine to feel that full weight. It feels good to your back and not stressful. So just be mindful of how you feel in your back. Support how you need and go to your breaths. Again, receiving those breaths in and out through your nose. Good. One more breath. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose. If you need to kind of sway around a little bit to find your mountain pose, do. You know, you can go side to side. You can go front to back. So you feel even between your feet there. Feel your thighs gently lifting upward. Enjoy feeling that quiet strength, really, of simply standing aligned in your mountain pose. And we'll release our arms right on back down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees as we come forward into that standing forward bend. Let's let our next inhale help us find that flat back again. So that nice tabletop back. And this time, left foot steps back to come into lunge. So again, really find your lunge here. See if you can just gently feel like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, just gently. And we'll come on into our downward facing dog pose again. Your choice. Remember, if your hands are on the blocks, they can be quite tippy, so be mindful there. Take your time, feel your hands on whatever surface they're on. Let your elbows hug towards each other a little bit so you feel that ease in your shoulders. And then we'll come on out towards that plank again. And you know it is optional how you do a plank, whether you go all the way or put your knees down or come onto your forearms. Again, if you like to bend your elbows and do little push-ups, you can. If you're going to do those push-ups, try to stay really strong and not drop into your belly. And then we'll come on back into down dog again. And then from here, our left foot will come forward. And again, if you need to put your right knee down to get that left knee forward, or both knees down, and then come forward into your lunge. Press the feet again a little away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat and feel your belly. But remember, you don't want to tuck your tailbone under you. Reach the tailbone back towards your inner heel back there. Good. We're going to step forward and come into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart. And again, be mindful. Let it feel good. If you can nod or shake your head a bit so that you feel a little bit of movement there, and then are able to release into the weight of your head, do. Don't force it. And then let go of your jaw. And see if you can let yourself feel really soft around your mouth. And sometimes separating your teeth helps. Sometimes even inhaling through your nose and then taking a couple of exhales out through your mouth helps you release your jaw too. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, rising on up and inhaling our arms out and up overhead. And letting our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Find your mountain pose here now. Let yourself feel very equal between your feet. Very balanced. And imagine that you're totally symmetrical too, which of course none of us are. But if you were to draw a line down the center of your body and fold yourself in half, like closing a book up, imagine that you were totally symmetrical between the sides of your body. And when you open that book back up again to where you're right at center, you feel the same thing. Just, legs, arms, hands, feet, even your ears being symmetrical. We're going to unfold our arms on down beside us and inhale both arms all the way back out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees as we come on forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back again. And we're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose from here. So whether you put your hands on the floor or blocks or the chair, walk your way back. Walk a little bit in your dog. If you can let your head just gently turn side to side while you're walking. Sometimes that can just feel very releasing. And then finish off where you come back to your full dog and let your next inhale carry you out towards that plank. And again, this is all optional. You do the plank the way you want. If you want to do a back bend, you can come down to the floor and go up onto your forearms to a Sphinx. You can come into a little cobra or an up dog or not do a back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So take your time, move how you need. If you want to wag your tail, do it. If you want to move around a little bit in your dog. And we're going to do that same thing again. Come on out to plank, and again, it is optional to add a back bend. So, again, you can come into a Sphinx or a Cobra. You can not do a back bend at all. Totally up to you. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, we will bring our right foot forward. So whatever you need to do, left knee down or both knees down if you're on the floor to get there. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet and hips distance apart and parallel. But just be mindful. Those of you who like to hold your elbows, you can try. And if it's too much, you may decide to bring your elbows up above your knees, right, to support your back. Or you might really like to let your arms hang down. And again, just breathe. Easy, full, deep breaths. Good. One more breath. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet, rise on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale, as our hands come down, think about letting your head get higher up towards the ceiling, the top of your head. So now, feeling your mountain pose, and think about how different it feels than when you first start, right? Once the body gets warm and, the sun salutations really address every muscle of the body getting warmed up. Now you just feel like you're floating a little more. You feel energy kind of flowing through your body. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. Move through your hands if you need to and your feet. I'm going to turn my chair around. If you're not using a chair, just make sure you have your blocks handy by the front of your mat there. And first we'll step kind of towards the front of our mat because we'll step our right foot back to Warrior One, which is the front facing warrior, right? Brings your shoulders around square to the front edge of your mat. And actually, let your hands come forward so the palms face each other. And your hands are reaching down towards the corners of your mat, or maybe depending where you are on your mat, a little farther forward. So they're forward a little bit. You feel really balanced, right? Between your feet, your left knee is bent, your right leg is straight, but you can see your toes of your left foot. And then as you inhale, start to rise the arms higher and higher and higher and higher. Maybe even bringing your gaze up a little bit to where the wall meets the ceiling. Now once you're up there, turn your pinkies towards each other. So feel how your shoulders melt down away from your ears. Let yourself enjoy coming into that warrior one, reaching up through your fingertips, feeling equal through your feet on the floor. Imagine inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back of your body. One more breath. And then lower your arms on down beside you here now. And we're going to turn sideways to the long right edge of our mat with our feet separating at least a little bit wider than our shoulders. How much farther you go is up to you. Feet are pretty parallel to each other. And then come on forward. So you all know if you want to grab a block or blocks, you can. You can have your hands on the floor. Let your knees bend here for a second. Let yourself just stay with your knees a little bit. And keep a nice long back. So you're feeling really good about a long, flat back. If it feels better to put your elbows above your knees, you can do that to support yourself. Or you can keep your hands down. That's up to you. Good. And then from there, walk your hands over a little towards the right. Now you can keep your knees a little bent or you can have them straighter, but try to have them even. So both knees equally bent or not. And then come on back to center and go to the left. Again, you might just want to shift your block a little bit, or you might want to walk your hands over towards to hold onto your foot or your ankle. Good, and then come on back into center again. And if you need to bend a knee at a time now, do. And sometimes once you start that, it makes you want to change how wide your stance is. So if you want to, you can. You can get less or more wide between your feet. Good. And then finish off so that you can now set yourself up to be with your breath. So, you know me, I love to use these blocks underneath forearms because to me that feels really good. I also, sometimes just like to immediately come all the way down with the top of the head towards the ground. So that it is up to you how your body feels. Give yourself time to adjust into the pose where you don't feel stress in your back or in your legs or your hips either, right? So it just feels natural and easy. So you can just watch your breath and feel the ribs expanding when you breathe in. And feel how the rib cage just kind of closes back in when you exhale. That kind of accordion-like feel to the ribs moving. Now remember to let go of your jaw and your face. Good. One more full deep breath here. When you're ready to rise up, take care. You can use your hands to help you. If you need to adjust your feet before you rise up, by all means do. And if you're dizzy, take your time to bring your feet together again so that you're not going to fall over. Grab hold of something if you need. And we're going to come to the other side. So we're going to come into front of the mat again, getting ourselves forward. And then stepping left foot back this time. Now, if you like to widen your stance a little bit in Warrior One, so in other words, if I were to bring my heels into a line, which I could do, my hips will do that, they feel okay that way. Some people, that really doesn't feel good up into their hips. So if you separate your feet wider, like you're on narrow railroad tracks instead of on a tightrope, then it feels better up into their hips. And it's also easier to balance, right? So you've got to find what works for you, where you're comfortable in your hips. And then let your gaze come down. Bring your hands forward where the palms face each other and the hands are reaching kind of towards the corners of the mat, right? Now feel your feet in the floor. Remember, you should be able to see your right toes. Your knee is bent, but it's not going out beyond your toes. And then inhale the arms up slowly, up and up and up and up, and let your gaze come up a little bit if you can, maybe towards where the wall meets the ceiling. Turn your pinky fingers in towards each other. which softens your shoulders down away from your ears. And just this simple basic pose, man, you are really using your belly, your back, your hips, right? Your legs. And then you've got energy all the way up through your fingertips. Inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back. One more breath in your warrior one. And then we're going to slowly bring our arms on down again. We're going to turn sideways to the left side of the mat now. Before you go forward, though, get your feet set where you think you're comfortable. And then bring your hands behind you and clasp your hands together there. And then from here, when you inhale, let your hands come a little off your back. And when you exhale, let them come back down. Now, if this hurts your shoulders, obviously don't do it. But if you can inhale your hands a little away, do. And exhale, let them come back down. Now keep them down. Take an inhale. And when you exhale, bend your knees and come on forward. So some of you might want to stop after going just a few inches. Or you might want to get parallel to the floor. Knees are bent as much as you need them to be, right? And some of you might even want to fold over and forward and let your arms come off your back. That is so not doable for some of our shoulders, right, or for our backs. So don't force it. If you need to put your hands down, by all means, put your hands down. And then we are going to release our hands to come down, maybe to the block, maybe to the floor. That's up to you. And then once you get yourself supported there, bend a knee at a time. Adjust your stance if you need to. So if you want to get more or less wide, do. Good. And then again, get yourself set up to stay with your breath here. And that might mean, again, using the blocks. You know, sometimes it's fun to stack blocks up and put your head on blocks. I mean, you can do that, you know, the blocks even higher, however you want to stack them, with your elbows above your knees, if it feels good. Sometimes it's just a difference of a little bit that it brings your stretch into just a little bit different place when you adjust how you're using your support. So you can play. Find a place where you can stay with a few breaths and let it be easy. Again, feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. Good. One more breath. And now again, to rise up, it is up to you. Hands can come to give you a little help on your thighs to rise up. And when you bring your feet together, if you need to walk around a little bit, move through your feet and your ankles do. And then we're going to come to a warrior two this time. So we'll step our right foot back. And now get our heels pretty much lined up if we can, with that right foot parallel to the back edge of our mat, and the left foot parallel to the long edge of our mat. And then we've got that left knee bent, right, so that it feels good. You can let yourself, make sure you're not going out beyond your toes again with your knee bend. And then float your arms on up. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling for a second. Let your elbows bend quite a bit down towards the ground. And kind of imagine for a second that you have something equal in your hands, equal weight. You can imagine anything you want. Bubbles, rocks. It can be something heavier or lighter. Spinning balls. Just feel very equal. And as you turn your hands over the other way and reach out through your fingertips, try to feel that same sense of being very equal, from your hands up through your arms into your shoulders. And feel your feet in the floor. Imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. We're going to turn the left palm up, bring your right hand to your right leg, and slide that right hand down as you reach up with your left hand. Now really find the breath into the left side of the body. One more inhale. And on the exhale, coming into your side angle, whether you want to use your hand on your thigh or your chair, or maybe you want to use your forearm. And if you want to add the right arm up, you can bring that right arm up or not. You can keep your right hand on your hip. You can bring the arm up kind of in by your head so that you turn your palm to face the floor. You don't want your shoulder to go way up by your ear, so think about the shoulder releasing down into that side angle. Good. And we're going to come on back to Warrior Two from there, pressing the feet away from each other, getting back into that Warrior Two. Nice. Now let your hands come down, and we're going to come into a lunge. So a lot of you might want to use your blocks. A lot of you might want to use your chair. You're going to bring your hands down any height you want to be and find that lunge where the right heel is reaching directly behind your foot. And then add your twist of left hand to the left hip, drawing that left shoulder up. If you can put your palm down right there on your sacrum, right to that flat part, right there at the base of your spine, and roll your shoulder up. You're twisting in the middle of your back. And then I know a lot of you like to lift your arm up because it feels good. You may even want to look up towards your hand. Not necessarily, right? One more breath. And then bring that hand on back down. We're going to step forward from our lunge, get our feet right underneath us, and walk a little bit in your standing forward bend again. Bend a knee at a time. You know, you might want your hands up on blocks so you can enjoy working through your feet a little bit. And then come back down with both heels, bend your knees a little bit, press into your feet, bring your hands up to your hips, and come on up to standing. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring your hands down together in front of your heart. Coming into mountain. So again, if there's a little bit of wanting to sway a little bit to even out, do. And remember, your thighs are gently lifting up. You don't want to lock your knees. You don't want to jam back into your knees, right? You just feel that sense of creating space in your knees by your thighs gently lifting up. But your tailbone is reaching down and back a little bit. And then release. Let your arms come on down. Shake out a little bit. We're going to step our left foot back to come into Warrior Two here. So stepping that left foot back and getting that left foot again about parallel to the back edge of your mat, and letting your right foot be about parallel to the long edge. And when you bend that knee, check it out. Just make sure you feel good about how long your stance is and that bend of that front knee. Float your arms on up and out. Turn your palms up. Let your elbows go down. And when your elbows go down, feel how your shoulders soften. So when you do, stay here and feel the shoulders soften. And then you think about turning your palms down and reaching out. Try to keep the shoulders soft at the top as you reach out now with the palms down, reaching out through your fingertips. So try not to let them creep up, the shoulders. They're still released down. You're holding up your arms from underneath, bringing your gaze out over the top of that right hand. And press your feet a little away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer. Feel your hips. Left hand down to your left leg. Turn your right palm up. Inhale, reach up as high as you can go. Feel the breath, expanding the right ribs. And on your exhale, come on into your side angle. So again, you can stay up high or you can go down to your forearm. Hand can be on your leg or on your chair. And then again, adding this left arm, totally optional, whether you want to bring that arm up into line with the left side of your body, right? So if you're up higher, your arm won't be doing quite as much as if you're down lower, right? But you want to be okay in your shoulder. Find length through both sides of your body. So your spine is really long here. Beautiful. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two. Press those feet away from each other. Get you right back into that core strength. And we'll bring our hands down. Find lunge. So how you do that, what height you want to be, totally up to you. Bring your hands to a chair. You can be on the back of the chair. You don't have to go any lower than that. And then letting yourself bring your right hand to your right hip, palm down, if you can, on your sacrum. And when you roll that shoulder up, you try not to drop into the left side, right? So you're trying to stay fairly level right here where your hand is. And then you can decide about wanting to add that top arm up. If it hurts your shoulder, don't do it. Just keep your hand down, it's fine. Finding still to lengthen your spine, that twist in the middle of your back. Good, we're gonna come on down with our hand back to lunge, and we're gonna step forward again to get our feet right under us. Now this time, and you might want blocks under your hands, turn to the top, put your right foot a little behind you, go to the top of your toes, like your toenails, and then bend both your knees so you stretch out the top of that foot a little bit. And then put that right foot back, put your left foot a little behind you, go to your toenails on that left foot, and then bend both your knees a little bit so you're pressing into the top of the toes. And then come on back up, right? Bend both your knees a little, come into your standing forward bend for a couple of breaths. Let your head, if possible, hang. Feel your feet equaling the floor. And then bring your hands to your hips and press into your feet and rise on up. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring your hands down, coming into your mountain pose. Very lightheaded. You know, if you need to shift around a little bit just to find that sense of being stacked up and feeling even between your feet. Imagine for a second that you're being supported by the air all around you so that, you know, it's very easy to be in your mountain pose and you feel balanced. And then we'll go ahead and unfold our arms on down. Shake out and move around a little bit if you need to. And we're going to leave our mats where they are, but we are going to walk to a wall, just to put our hand on a wall to do a little bit of a balance pose. So find anywhere. Somebody can come up here if they want. You don't need a mat under your feet or anything. And we'll do left hand towards the wall or the bookcase, wherever you are. And then let yourself stand on your left foot and bring your right foot up in front of you, right like you're stepping up a step. So your knee is bent. You can hold behind your thigh if you want, or put your hand on your knee if you want. Now try to let your shoulders be over your hips. And then we're going to open that knee out to the side a little bit. We're going to come into tree pose from here. So you may want to put the foot right onto your calf below your knee. You may want to put your right foot up into your inner thigh, right? You've got to find what your hips let you do comfortably. And then see if you can rise your right arm up overhead. And let your left hand kind of creep up the wall, right? So it goes up higher too. And you can stay with your left fingertips on the wall if you want, or maybe you can turn your palms to face each other and let that hand come off a little. Optional, don't do it if it's too much. Keep your hand on the wall. Try focusing on a spot. And if you're like, oh, that's not a good spot because it's somebody's head moving in front of me, maybe you want to look somewhere else, right? You can look down a little bit. You can look up above somebody's head. You can take your time. One more breath. And then put your left hand back on the wall. Bring your right arm down and turn your right knee down to look at the floor. We're going to come into quad stretch. So you might just want to stand up right there with your knee bent, your right knee, and your knees side by side. If you can reach back and get the top of your right foot, do. Not everybody can, so don't force it. We know that. So if you have the foot, or even if you don't, let your left arm come up the wall again and see if you can maybe release for a little bit of a balance there. And if you like to come forward with your chest and back with your knee a little bit, you can. You can balance there or not, right? Be aware of that leg you're standing on. Make sure you're not jamming into locking your knee. And then we're going to release. Let yourself come down. Shake out that leg you were standing on. So the best thing that's going to make it feel better is to come into the same thing on the other side. So bringing that left foot up like you're stepping up a step. That's a release right there, right? And again, try not to hunch over. Feel your shoulders over your hips. Open that knee out to the side a little bit. Now try, if you can, to stay nice and firm. Good. And then put your foot down onto that right inner leg wherever you want. Below your knee, above your knee. Bring your gaze on forward. Let your left arm come up overhead. And then you can send the right hand up the wall. Keep it there if you need to. If you can release the wall, do. Feel the foot coming gently into the inside of your leg, and imagine the inside of your leg coming back into your foot. Good. One more breath. Now lower your left arm down. Your right hand can come lower too. Send your left knee down towards the ground. You're bending that knee behind, the foot behind you. And again, if you want to, or if you can get the foot, you can get the foot. And then again, if you can let your right hand come up the wall again, maybe you can balance there. You don't have to have your foot to try to balance. You can just have the knee bent. It's a hard balance, no matter how you look at it. And of course, those of you who have the foot, if you like to send the knee back a little bit and let your chest come forward, you can. That is a bit of a back bend, remember. And then we're going to release and come on down. Good. And just let your feet come away a little from the wall. Let your feet separate a little bit and do like you're doing a hula hoop, but slow motion and hula hoop. Right? So if you were, oh good, you got your glasses. Thanks, Margaret. And you can reverse and let the hula hoops go the other way. Obviously, if we were doing a real one, we'd have to be going really a lot faster than this, wouldn't we? But just let your hips release, right? Good. And then we're going to come on back onto our mats, and we're going to go down onto the floor, onto our bellies. So let yourself come on down and make a little pillow with your hands. Release your forehead down onto your hands, if that's comfortable for you, okay, for your neck. And bend your knees once you get there and you're kind of comfortable. See if you can bend your knees and circle your feet around back there. It doesn't matter how. And maybe you want to let your lower legs go side to side like windshield wiper blades. So if that feels good, you can just let the legs go one way. I actually like to let them hang out on one side for a bit. And then I like to come up and over and let them hang out on the other. Sometimes I like to do these little double, it's not a bounce exactly, but go to one side, come back out of it a little, go back down a little. So it is kind of like a little bouncing kind of feeling. It's very releasing to me anyway. And then finish off. Come on back, stretch your legs on down underneath you. And for a second, curl your toes under, right? Or you may just be like on the tips of your toes, either one. And see if you can lift your knees up off the floor. So your legs are straight. Belly is engaged, so your tailbone's reaching down a little towards the ground here. So you're stretching out the bottoms of your feet. And then we're going to lower our thighs back down and come back to pointing your feet here. Now press into the tops of the toes and lift the knees up. It won't be as high, right? But you can still do it. And you can press into the tops of your toes and feel that. And see if you can then float your head up a little bit off your hands. And then release your legs down and your head down. And we're going to come on up into a Sphinx Pose now, a little higher back bend, with elbows under the shoulders. If that's too much, go down, lower, slide your arms back more like this, or even like this, right? Wherever your shoulders feel best. If it's too much for you to be with your elbows under your shoulders. And just enjoy feeling the front of the body open up wherever you are, using your back body here. Good. And then, see if you can bend your knees and lift your hips up. And you're right here in a half forearm plank. Your hands are separated, not like we usually do clasping. So your forearms are like parallel to each other. And you can feel your sitting bones reaching down towards the back of your knees, right? And you can really feel your belly. If you try to pull yourself forward, you feel it even more. You get way onto the flesh above your knees. You're working your belly and your hips, your low back too. Good. One more breath. And then come on back down. And from here, release your arms down alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And as you inhale, let just your head and your legs float up into your locust. So your hands are still down, but try to bend your elbows a little bit. Feel open across your chest. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come down. We're going to shift back towards pose of a child. So let your hips come on back. Now you can just go right onto your forearms if you want and stay with your hips up higher, especially, if those deep knee bends do not work for you, don't do it. If you can let your hips shift back, you can go right ahead, hips towards your heels, letting your torso stay forward if possible. But you find release however you need, into your low back and your hips. Bring your breath to where you need it. Good. One more nice, full, deep breath. And then we're going to bring our hands back by our knees. We are going to come up, but just long enough to bring our legs on around in front of us. All right? Stretch them out. Shake out a little bit. And we are going to come down to our backs, but before you go down to your back, have blocks handy and have your strap to where you can reach over and get it without too much trouble. And then bring yourself on down onto your back on the floor. Let your knees come on in towards your chest. And if you can, have your right hand on your right knee and your left hand on your left, do. And let your knees circle. So as they start to stay fairly close together and they circle in one direction, your inhale is when they come away from you, and your exhales are when they come in towards your body. So you let your breath carry you through these circles that go in the same direction, letting yourself kind of outline that sacrum on the floor. You're going to the outer edges of that flat place at the base of your spine. We're going to stop and reverse the direction that we go. And let yourself, again, feel your breath. Inhaling when the arms come away, the legs come away, and exhaling when you draw your knees back in. Good. And then finish off back at center. Let your feet come onto the floor. And let's bring ourselves up into a bridge pose, but get your feet set where you think you're comfortable. Pretty parallel, feet a little bit wider than you are in your mountain pose. And then see about bringing your arms down alongside you. And whether you like to bend your elbows, which I'm going to do, or you can keep your arms straight, press into the backs of your arms and let your hips come up. Maybe it's a couple of inches off the floor. You don't have to be high to be in a bridge pose. If you want to press more, roll your shoulders under more as you press into the backs of the arms. You can rise up higher if you choose. But remember, this pose, you'll feel if you come up pretty high, you're going to really feel your thighs. But you're also not going to feel any kind of discomfort in your back. So if you need to come down, reposition where your feet are before you go up into bridge, feel free to do that. So get your toes facing forward. If you feel like you're turning out a little bit, see if you can get your feet even. And then if you like a block, you have them close by there. And I know a lot of you love to support up on a block. So if that feels good, put the block underneath that sacrum, that flat part, right where we were talking about rolling to the edges of. And supported bridge can be an amazing restorative yoga pose. So you can just stay there for a few breaths, just letting your low back release. Or if you don't want to be in support, by all means, come down when you want from bridge. You can move up and down out of bridge. Or if you're on the block, you may decide you want to move up and down off the block, right? Or you might want to play a little bit with bringing your feet up in the air if you're supported on the block, and let the blood kind of come down the legs a little bit, or do little leg lifts if you like playing around up there with your legs. Or even going like out into a wide angle and back up with your legs. There are a lot of things you can do on these blocks. So, you know, if that feels like really good to engage a little more with your belly, you can do those. Or you can just stay resting, supported. Good. And now, to come down off the block if you're up there, be really mindful. Or if you're still up and you're just coming down, same thing. Be easy as you bring your back down. And then bring your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg down long for a second. And then just switch. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Extend your right leg down long. Good. And now put both feet on the floor. Your knees are bent. And get your strap. And we're going to put our strap across the ball of the right foot up in the air, right? So however you can get it up there across the ball of your foot. Let the knee be bent for a second here and take your time. Let yourself really get right across the base of your big toe mound and your little toe mound. And then once you're pretty comfortable there, see if you can extend your left leg down long on the floor like you're standing on it. So if you were standing up, this right leg would be right in front of you, right? And then you can extend that leg longer if you need to let the leg come down away from you. You definitely do not want to feel like you're pulling the leg in towards you. You don't want to feel any kind of pulling sensation at the back of your leg. So you're pressing the ball of the foot into the strap. You're feeling the back of your leg. It's engaged. And it's also maybe a little bit stretching, but you don't want to overdo it. Just give yourself time there to open up the back of the leg. Good. Now bring both ends of the strap into your right hand. Put your left hand on top of your left hip pointer bone there. And let your leg open to the right without popping up on the left side. So it may not be very far. Just go as far as you can. And then bring it back up to center. Bring your left hand over to get both ends of your strap and stretch your right arm out beside you and bring the leg across to the left. Now you may not even want to let the right hip come off the floor. You might want to go just a few inches and really feel the outside of your right leg there. Or you may decide, oh, it feels great to go over closer towards the floor with that leg, right? It is up to you, this twist. Definitely go where it feels good for you and no further. We're going to come on back up to the top from there. And now we're just going to replace that right foot with our left foot. So kind of maybe that'll make it easier to get it on there. Let your right foot come to the floor at first with your knee bent. Get your strap really, again, like you all had it evenly across the base of your big toe mound and little toe mound. And then when you're ready to lengthen that right leg long down on the floor, do. And when you come into a straighter left leg, again, it doesn't have to be close to you at all. It can be way out away from you. You're going to press into the strap with your foot so you feel engaged, really both in the front and the back of your leg. But you're definitely engaged in your hamstring in this. At the same time, you're stretching, but you don't want to feel like you're pulling, right? So don't pull with your arms trying to get this leg closer to you. Good. Just letting the back of the leg naturally open up there. One more breath. And now bring both ends of the strap into your left hand. Let your right hand rest on top of your right hip pointer bone. And let the leg open to the left, out to the side there. Again, it may not be far. Remember, you don't want to let your right hip pop up. And keep pressing into the strap a little bit with the ball of your foot. So you're still engaged as you come over to the side. It doesn't matter how close the leg is towards you, right? And then we'll come back up to the top and let your right hand come over to get your strap. Stretch your left arm out beside you. And again, you may just want to go 2 inches towards the right. Really getting into the outside of the leg there. You may decide, well, I want to go farther because it feels great. So you really just be mindful. Coming into this twist where it feels good for you. Good. And then coming back up to the top. Go ahead and bend your right knee, put your foot on the floor, and take your strap off your left foot. Be careful of that metal end of it. And put the strap on off to the side. Let your knees come on in towards your chest. And coming into a little happy baby. If you're comfortable to do that, you can send your feet up. Let yourself release a little side to side. Or, some of you, instead of that, may want to bring the soles of your feet towards each other. Do a little Baikonasana. So let your hips and your low back release the way you need. If there's something else you need out of those are pretty deep twists, right? With a strap like that. You may just want to let your feet come onto the floor, let your knees go side to side. There are any number of things that might feel really good to you right now. So, do what feels good. Let yourself come into whatever helps you find release. More release for your hips, your low back. And I'm going to start to get lights, and then I will head around to bring stuff. If you start to stretch out in Baikonasana and you are not comfortable, you really want to be able to be comfortable. So I have all these bolsters where I can bring one to put underneath my knees. I have little ones, I have middle-sized ones, I have larger ones. Start to walk around and look for signs from people who might want some support. So don't give up on me. If your hand is waving, I'll come over and see if I can bring you something to help your back release. Remember too, your neck. If you feel like a little bit of a blanket underneath the back of your head would help for the back of the throat and neck to release, I can bring you a blanket. So just be easy. Let yourself just enjoy the ground underneath you, supporting you. And start to watch your breath. Coming in, going out through your nose. Your mind is going to wander off and back. A lot, probably. That's okay. Just be okay with realizing that you've gone off into thinking, and just gently bring yourself back with your awareness to watching your breath. And your body will start to soften and release down. You will find those little quiet places. And just give yourself time here to benefit from all you just did. And just by allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. breath now want to come in and go out a little more fully so that you feel the belly rising and falling with your breath. Letting those deeper breaths start to refresh you, bring you back into wanting to move. And just be easy as you start to move through your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs. You know, take your time. If you need to stretch everything out, stretch. If you need to bring your knees in, let your back go a little bit. You know, you're welcome to stay on your back there or roll onto either your right or your left side. If you do come onto your side, you might want to use your arm as a pillow if you don't have a blanket there, and you can rest on your side if that helps you adjust a little bit in that soft fetal position. So that when you feel ready to rise up, you can really feel like you float your way up to sitting and find that ease of how you're sitting for your hips, however that might be, and let yourself lengthen upwards so you feel space in your spine and feel your shoulders nice and released and open, so that you feel open across your chest and across your upper back too. And then come back to watching your breath. Let your next exhale allow your hands to come to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.